So I started off in the banking, teller, and having a lot of fun in the branch. And then one day I was out the back having morning tea, and one of the manager's assistant, who is like the lending support manager for the branch manager. So back in those days where you go and meet the branch manager, he'd do the interview, he'd approve your loan on the spot based on who you were and what he knew, and then the manager's assistant would literally type up the credit approval and the loan documents, and you'd walk out with you. Anyway, this Debbie, she was the manager's assistant at the time, was out the back extracting financial statements. And I'm watching her. And I just said, Debbie, you just made a mistake. You've miscalculated gross profit on that for that. And she just looked at me and goes, do you know what I'm doing? And I said, yeah, because I'm going to night school. I'm studying accounting at night school. She goes, oh, you didn't tell us that. Do you know the bank will pay for that? I said, what? No idea, because I was paying it for myself, just I had no idea. And she said, what's more? Well, not only will we pay for it, if you pass your subjects, you'll get a cash bonus. And I'm going, and she said, and by the way, you know how to extract financials, you know how to read financials. Yeah, I'm studying accounting. Here, boom. So that was my thrust into lending. But in the end, I went around all the banks and I just put my name forward, and ANZ was the first one to respond. And I met them, and they great people. And so I had all the banks coming at me actually at one point saying, hey, we'd love to take you on board. But ANZ was first in, so I just jumped in there, and I started at 132 Charles Street on the 14th of June 1988. There you go. The bank on the mainland had to rationalise. They lost a lot of money, so they had to cut costs and centralise and shut down branches and all that stuff. It was a pretty ugly time. But they left Tasmania alone. In fact, they invested a lot more in our lending skill. And so we were going off doing advanced credit courses and all sorts of things, the whole end-to-end process. And then they realised in about the mid-90s, they thought, geez, they'd lost all their knowledge out of the bank. A lot of those, that's when the broker industry was actually born. A lot of those bankers left and became brokers at that point in time. Some of them went and joined, Smartline and various groups. And in the mid-90s. And so what they did is they set up this project, and they recruited people, and they came to Tasmania. And I stuck my hand up, and I said, that's how I got to Melbourne. And my first job was really writing current account management processes for a centralised environment to make those decisions on managing, small business check accounts, overdrafts, small business loans and so forth. And that was all, I think it was 96 when I moved to Melbourne. And because we had all the lending knowledge. Yeah. And so we did. So I wrote all those processes. Then at one point I was managing a team of 300 staff around the country with the securities team. They did all the mortgage doc prep, all the settlements, all the packet management, custody and so forth. Managed that. Did a few .com projects. It was a pretty fascinating time. In fact, one of the projects I worked on for ANZ was the Originator Services Unit. So I first met some brokers in 96, 97, and ANZ launched into the broker market on the 1st of April 1997. They opened the doors for business, and I wrote all the back office processes and set up the back office team, recruited a couple of staff out of Bendigo to come and support that, and who one of those people is now a very successful broker today out in the industry. Gee, I wish I knew then what I know now. God, I probably would have just jumped ship and become a broker myself. God, I could have. I'd probably be, I don't know, retired by now, I'd imagine. But anyway, I was committed to my career. I was really interested. I was enjoying the challenge. I enjoyed learning. I was soaking up. It was mid to late 20s. Getting married, having family, all that stuff. But what happens once I went through all those different experiences is then I ended up back in distribution. I got a distribution role in 2001, 2002, looking after mortgages for internal sales channels. So it was lending and gearing managers, they were called at the time. There was the small business and the private bank, and I was out helping support, drive business through those channels. And then I ended up back into a call centre environment, running that selling in there. At which point, and then I was actually quite tuned into the broker industry at that point in time and what was going on and how it was growing. And I'd been doing work with some brokers. I was actually bringing them in to my business and learning from them and trying to work out how I could apply that in the businesses that I was running, which was good. It helped. But then I got a phone call one day from a recruitment agent, and it was CBA was knocking on the door, and I said no to them 3 times. But then I get a call from a friend one day, a guy who I used to work with at ANZ back in Tasmania, Ian Hendy. And he called me and he said, Sam, I want to have lunch with you. We're going to have lunch at this restaurant. I'm down. I've been working with CBA. I thought, oh, here we go. And sure enough, I go and have lunch with him, and in the room is Kathy Cummings. So I sit down with Kathy, and that was an interesting conversation. And, after that, and at that meeting, I thought she had a bit of a cheek to sort of, not hijack, but sort of, blindside me in that. So I thought, all right, well, that gives me a bit of license to put a bit back on her and test her out. So I asked her a couple of challenging questions at that lunch, and the way she answered them won me over, and I decided, okay, I'll move. 16 years of ANZ, 14 years of CBA, achieved amazing things at both those organisations, achieved things at CBA that I probably didn't even think we would be able to achieve, and we managed to tick those boxes. Now it's how do I achieve on the outside, working with brokers directly and helping lead and grow that for the next 10 years. And I want to apply everything I've learnt over the last 30 years and really help build a legacy for REA and Smartline.